Good morning, everyone. It's January the 19th, 2018. I'm in Las Vegas. I want to answer some questions today and just talk about a few things. I have a lot of new subs, and y'all need to kind of play catch up. On my channel page, you will see a link here in the graphics, the graphic art, inside 33 archive. This is some of my first channel. You are watching the fourth incarnation of this channel. But this individual was kind enough to archive a lot of my videos here, so they got saved. When you comment on these videos, I don't get those comments. They go to Inside 33. You'll have to come to my email or my channel if you want to speak to me directly about them. I'd like to go through some of these because they're going to answer some of your questions. That way, I don't have to make another video, or if you're looking for information and you haven't been able to find it, this is where you'll find it. I did Saturn's Day morning. Saturn has been demonized as the devil, when clearly that's not the truth. Those who are in control right now venerate Jupiter. He controls all of the information on this planet and all of the mystery schools. The word mystery itself is an Arabic word referring to the planet Jupiter. Hence, they call it Mustari, the mystery. The Church of the Subgenius recruitment video. This was done back in the late 70s, early 80s. It came out of Dallas, Texas. Very informative, and it evokes the symbology in the subconscious mind. I don't think a lot of people get it. The subgenius, it's literally referring to the subconscious mind. And this has a lot to do with Pluto. Pluto is a very interesting planet. It's a generational marker. It's not what we call the final five. You'll get that reference in Battlestar Galactica. They go into the Opera House. The Opera House is also the Zodiac. It's the great play. We are all on a stage. We are merely players. And Pluto, for those of you who were born with Pluto and Leo in that fire, you're being called to task right now, as Pluto is in the fire of Sagittarius. Another generational marker is Neptune. Neptune pointing, when Neptune came into Libra, it was the time that astrology was released to the world. We started getting the little ads in the paper of what your astrology was. Unfortunately, it was tropical astrology, which is a different point of view. Not that it's not necessarily true, because many walk in the past, which has a lot to do with what I'm discussing today. And in these videos is about Saturn and about time, and about time quakes. I made videos earlier called Time Quake that had to do with why we have different astrologies, and they're based on different timelines. And when you understand that, you'll understand Back to the Future and all of that. Familiar spirits just love one another. My video letters to Joan, basically how this channel got started. I had several near-death experiences in my life, and I've been part of a study with Stanford University in Palo Alto on near-death experiences. And a group of us made and these people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, different belief systems, and a group of us all had something in common, and that is we remembered before we were born. So we did not see death the way others experience it. It's really based on what you know, what you believe, and what you know. A lunar vision. Great video. It actually shows the time of Jonah. This is the mansions of the moon and the way the moon travels through the sky. Hey Eric, It's Written in the Stars is about Freemasonry and what they are showing in the symbology of the Freemason temple. Hey 420 Saturn-Jupiter conjunction is, if you want to understand Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions, that he done a good job here showing you what happens in Twin Peaks. Tells you when Saturn and Jupiter conjoin, the door to the Black Lodge opens. That is the subconscious mind. Ancient Pharaoh show has a lot to do with Orion, the age of Taurus, and its connection with North America. The age of Taurus was ruled by Venus, and it's an age of Earth. The next age of Earth belongs to North America, but it's tied to the age of Aquarius because they are one. That is that he-goat in Daniel with the one horn between its eyes. Saturn, that one horn. Sticks and Stones, just one of my poems. I write stuff. Occasionally they get posted. The Hole Story, this is about sinkholes. The God-shaped hole in all of us. Ancient Pharaoh show, some more of that. The revelation of John from the, not the Apocrypha, the Nag Hammadi Library. If you do not you'll never understand Revelation in our New Testament if you have not read this one first. If you do not understand it first. It's the first revelation. What we have is part 2. And it's all symbolical, and one helps explains the other. Q, the truth about Nibiru in Babylonian and in the old Persian, Farsi, Urdu kind of Arabic. Nibiru is Jupiter. And I prove this here. Riddle me this. Can you see what I hear? Signs and Symbols, a simple handout. This is about the Saturn-Jupiter conjunctions and how they symbolize it in what you call the iconography of the Catholic Church. A hand jive showing you in palmistry associated with astrology what these symbols mean and how they work. This was just a video to my friend Cece, who was having a hard time. I've been asked a lot about Orion. I've made as many videos about Orion as I have about Jupiter because it's so prevalent to us in North America. And that ideology being spread around the world. The Wizards of Orion, Part 1 and Part 2. A crab in the sky on 11/11 and 13. There was a lot of hype going down about the crab man and the crab claws. So I did this video. Can you hand L the truth about both Saturn being God, really? The mansions of the moon mirrored. Somebody else had done a video that coincided in conjunction with videos I were doing on the mansions of the moon, being in that book, The Picatrix, this ancient lunar wisdom that came out of the age of Cancer after the age of the Sun. And it was a new knowledge at that time. The who, what, when, and where, upside down, flipping the S-witch. We're born in this world upside down, but we are programmed to perceive it as right side up. Like when we look at Fomalhaut in the sky, especially in the northern hemisphere, we see him mostly in the southern hemisphere. In the beginning, when you start following the lamb, start following Fomalhaut in the sky from where you are. Everything is upside down. He's not in the north, he's in the south. And this time of year, he's going to move to the east and rise with the sun on the spring equinox at the dawning of this age. 11:55:11, numerology based on palmistry, and that 11:11. When we put our hands together to pray, this is what occurs. Very interesting concept there. Again, the many faces of Orion. A lot has been painted, and I share a lot of that information so that you can see clearly between the propaganda, the misinformation, and based on alchemy, what the truth actually is. The INRI, Ode to Mercury Retrograde, Magic Numbers, one of my very first videos. Ancient Osiris, an expert witness about the land of Osiris, because I go through a lot of what that, the hieroglyphs and the tongue they used, it being the land of Buweezer, where we get advisor, wizard, vizier, even wise bard comes from this terminology. Ancient Etruscan, must watch, just a must watch. Bust the code wide open, learning about Etruscan. All languages either write from the left to the right or the right to the left, and that dividing line is what we call the Levant, or the Mediterranean, there at the Middle East. They write from right to left, we write from left to right, but the Etruscans write as the ox plows. This is ancient Egyptian knowledge, and it is back and forth. Instead of, don't pick up your pencil and go back, it's one long stream. And that is also a clue. That is the way the Hebrews hid things. It's also in hieroglyphics. You can't read them properly if you cannot plow the words. World's oldest authentic map, a lot of this is Harry Hubbard's work. And I've already done my work that, in my opinion, Atlantis, yes, could very well have existed on this earth, but it's part of the ancient sun belt, and it is a zodiac. Also, more of his work, Tomb of Alexander the Great. Again, this knowledge of Egypt was brought to North America. Armageddon News, Artifacts from the Lost Tomb, more Harry Hubbard. I began getting censored. Google took over YouTube and changed everything, and it indeed was a nightmare. Gaelic lectures, bringing that Gaelic tongue into the linguistic interpretation of what all's going on, helping you to understand. Lectures on the constellations, the mystery, the Mr. E, Part 2, I don't know what happened to Part 1. Evil, Introduction to Sylvester James Gates, just other things we should think about besides just religion or creation is the way we have been taught. The Egyptians realized God was nature. It was called Neter. The earth eats itself. The zodiac is an alchemical wheel. We have to have earth, wind, fire, and air for all of this to exist. But they all deserve their place, and one should never be put above the other, save the one that rises in the east. It is their time. Getting to the time quake. The God of your ancestors. This is not our God. We weren't born in the age of fire. We weren't born in the age of Egypt. We're born between ages. We are between Pisces and Aquarius. In my opinion, World War II was the battle of water and air. And air won that battle. We destroyed their navy. And in turn, that is when the age of Aquarius actually began. So if you were born after World War II, you were indeed born from above. Vibratory physics, very important. Everything is created from sound. Creator said, let there be. That is a verb, to let, associated with Capricorn. Computer code and substring equation, nothing more than the same thing our DNA is. Etymology of Jupiter, explaining who the god of the age of Pisces is, and his many names and faces and attributes. He rules that mutable cross. He's changeable, he's deceptive. He's supposed to be Jove the Great Benevolent, but now he is at war, trying to hang on to a world age that really is no longer exists, and is dying. Just some things to think about the Native Americans. Here we go with time, rolling back time. I bring forth the symbology that was being used in the media, and they're trying to hold back time. They do this, number one, with the tropical zodiac in astrology. They do this with pushing Old Testament doctrine into the church. That's Babylonian confusion. They pull you to the pit and alter you, and they're trying to roll back time. And they use Walmart, wall flip backwards, is the law belonging to that old time religion. Mansions of the Moon Part 1, my video. Update, Mansions of the Moon Part 2. Chester's meal having to do with being under the dome. Big controversy on round earth or flat earth. We're under the dome. In my opinion, we live in the eye of a blue-eyed giant. It is the oldest story I've ever heard on this planet. It is very ancient, and this is how it goes. We live on a round earth, but in a flat earth, under the dome, we live in an eyeball. The North Pole is the pupil in the eye. It's hollow earth. We live inside the iris under the dome, and it appears flat with a dome over it. You can't go to the North Pole because it's hollow earth and goes inside the eye. It's surrounded by a wall of ice, which is the eye itself, the ball, and you can't get to the South Pole. There is the ganglia that connects to the brain or the mind of God. So if you want to get in the mind of God, you have to go to the North Pole and go through the pupil of the eye and be seen. Chester's meal. 1, 2, 3 lockbox. More about time. They write it in the songs. They have us do the rituals and all of this stuff to keep us in the past. They don't want us walking into the now, or definitely not into the future. And the kingdom can be now if you choose to walk in it. Sammy Hagar wrote 1, 2, 3 lock box, talking about time. It was the mystery of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. When you find that key, everything else is added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom, and then all these things will be added unto you. The battle for Middle Earth. This is what's going on right now. They're showing us, they have us watching the battle of fire and ice. They're showing us all these battles from the past as we change from one age to another. That battle of fire and ice was the battle between Aries and Pisces. And if you understand what happened in the past, you already know the end to the Game of Thrones. The beginning and the end. A bloody mass, a bloody mess. Blood Part 2. I talk a lot about the blood. You really want to understand the blood, you have to understand the sun. When we talk about positive, negative, and these different energies that are downloaded into us as we come into these bodies. You have my 3 sons, astrology, talking about Saturn, Jupiter, and the sun. Following the yellow brick road, that is the sun belt. Picking locks, that 1, 2, 3 lock box. We're opening up the time codes here. More about the blood, mystery solved, the Nostradamus' paintings, and the lost book allegedly of Nostradamus is nothing more than a tarot deck. And a tarot deck is associated also with astrology. Every card is assigned a planet and or a constellation. And I go through some of these paintings. What's your sign? Part 1, the difference between tropical and sidereal astrology. Atlantis' legend of creation, sidereal sun signs, more of Nostradamus' work, timequake. Here we are. Today, President Trump tweeted the first year in real time. As of last year, on the 2 calendars between the Zionist the Israelis and our current Roman calendar are on the same timeline. They're running the same timeline. So this is the first year in real time. He does not have a clue what he said. Time, quake, imminent. Saturn's making his move, and it's going to be like a rubber band effect, and it's going to crash a lot of people's paradigms when this occurs. We have earthquakes when they tell you, and the heavens quaked. That's talking about a time quake. When the heavens quake, these people are going to have to come out of the past. If they remain in the past, then they're doomed to stay in the past. And this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction coming up in 2020 is going to be the marker for the next generation. When we talk about those outer planets, I was telling you when Neptune came into Libra was the beginning of astrology on this planet being released to the public. Well, that generation that was born with Neptune in Libra are now manifesting that information. When we get to those who are actually in 2 generations down, the knowledge that's being released right now will be common knowledge, but it's 2 generations ahead. Our generation now is manifesting this. Those who are born with Pluto in Leo, Uranus in Leo, and Neptune in Libra. This is your time. And 2 generations down the road, what we're doing now will be manifest for everyone. We will not get to reap much of what we have sown in our lifetime, but we can leave it for the future. Again, what's your sign? Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Google's restraining comments, more of the lost book. You must repent. Very important one. That's so encoded in the alchemical French that I learned from. This word means to repaint, and he's talking about the zodiac, because they kept taking Libra out. They kept removing that wisdom of the heavens, that fiery serpent on the pole that healed the flock when they came out of Egypt. But they fell right back into confusion, right back into king worship, right back into Leo, right back into Babylon. Leftovers, just playing some catch up. Blessed is he who waits. What's going on? Only heaven knows. Reclaiming the heavens, the hidden zodiac, burning down the house, the big picture. We got to burn down that zodiac that is from the past. It must be, and I've showed you in the New Testament what the new zodiac will be like, and we're going to delve more into that. Again, them trying to remove the wisdom of the heavens. Jupiter has been, and his followers are manipulating that information, and they're perpetrating lies. You cannot trust their books or their teachings, because right now, how does he put it? Satan knows that his time is short, and there is nothing he won't do, nobody he won't sacrifice to stay in power. He is power hungry, and he's terrified of the Saturnalian group taking over. And so he's demonizing them, calling them Satan, when Balaam, the lamb, looked at Peter and told him, Satan, get behind me, and he is Jupiter. Peter is Jupiter. So that's literally like Saturn telling Jupiter, get behind me. We're fixing to see this dance of a Saturn-Jupiter both going retrograde back and forth in 2019, 2020, until they finally conjunct on the winter solstice. And Saturn is in play in his own house. More, let's talk about Jupiter, let's talk about Mars, let's talk about the moon, let's talk about Venus, let's talk about update, let's talk about Mercury, let's talk some more about Mercury, let's talk about the sun, part 2, 1 and 2. Something unusual has happened. Look up and learn. more on dimensions, trying to understand the different worlds that exist around us right now. There are the dimensions below us and the dimensions above us. Tying up some loose ends, 1 and 2, the Code of Geomathematics, Karl Monk, a must-watch. Another astrology documentary, more on the Gaelic lectures, the number 7, Mystery Part 1, Etymology of Tower. You have the Twin Towers. Now we have one tower, and you have the Tower card. That Tower card comes out of the tarot deck. You will also, it's in play right now. Let's talk about the Earth. Let's talk about retrogrades. Let's talk about Pluto. The alphabet versus the goddess. The goddess dealt with symbology. This was Egypt. It was hieroglyphics. Everybody spoke a symbolic language. There was no misunderstanding. So they put everything into these Phoenician and Etruscan alphabets, and then they started manipulating the words to bring in confusion. Let's talk about Neptune. Origins of religion. Light, darkness, and colors. The power of 88. I've done 2 of these videos, 1 and 2. Actually, there are 3. Cha-cha-cha is also connected. I have a sub that's very kind to me that tends to play with this number. So I know what's up. Let's talk about Uranus. Cha-cha-cha. Very interesting things going on. Let's talk about Saturn and the Super Gods Part 2. The Secrets of the Super Gods, Maurice Cottrell Part 1 and Part 2. Everybody needs to watch those 2 videos. It will help you understand so much. It will help you understand what they're doing. Let me pause here. Sorry about that. Maintenance is out and up early every morning, and they're coming by with their blowers. And it gets kind of loud. Okay, I'm about ready to wrap this up. I wanted to go through that. I've been getting a lot of questions about specifically Orion, about time, about Saturn. And it's easier for you guys to come back and watch these videos. Most of them are only 15 minutes or less. You won't have to go through a lot, and others are lectures that can get into the hours. But it's all relevant information. We've come a long way since back then. We did not understand what we understand now. So keep that in mind when you're watching them. That some of these videos are 7, 8, 9 years old. And that now we can clearly see how it relates to the New Testament. We're more clear on how to decode all of this. But that information is still all relevant and good for learning to properly divide the word. All right. Before I close, I want to, here comes again, let me pause. All right, they're gone. I want to talk about my birthday the other day. I have had a really bad migraine for a couple of days, really put me down. So I really didn't do anything on my birthday. I just kind of laid here with a bad headache. But many of you reached out to me, and I have to tell you, this was the best birthday I have ever had. And it's all thanks to you. Your kindness, your generosity, your just your happy birthdays. I want to especially thank Tim, Lori, Graham, Nicole, Sue, Hannah, and my precious Nada. All of you for being there for me. I've always been the giver. Nobody ever took time to remember my birthday or to do something for me. And so I really appreciate it. It was the best birthday I've ever had. As a matter of fact, I'm still celebrating it. I'm gonna, on Saturday, I'm gonna fix myself a birthday dinner and celebrate it that way with some of my favorite foods. So, and I thank you so much for being there for me. Charts. The $50 special on charts ended on my birthday. They're now $100 a piece. But I've had something on my mind the past week or so, actually, and it's about other people's charts. These are great gifts to give. I've been doing charts for newborns, looking at the new charts, which really helps me because I'm looking at today and then into the future. So what I'm going to do between now and Valentine's Day, I'm going to shoot for their next holiday. We've talked about Valentine's Day. My mother was born on that day. And it's set up so that when you get pregnant on Valentine's Day, you generally have what I call a Halloween baby. I have 3 sisters. There are 4 of us girls. My mother did not want any grandchildren. She didn't even want children. But every one of us got pregnant on Valentine's Day. And every one of us had our firstborn the last week in October, right there at Halloween. These Halloween babies. So between now and Halloween, between now and Valentine's Day, I'm going to do a 2-for-1 so that you can get your chart done and maybe your mate or your sibling or your parent or even a child. Like I said, these are great gifts to have made for your children, and then they may not be ready for them, but when they're older, you can give them to them. When I do your videos, you can download. They're private. Nobody sees them but you. You can download them. You can share them with whoever you like. Your information will always be kept private with me. If you lose the link, I can always replace it for you. I never put anyone's name on these videos so that even if somebody else was to see them, they would not have a clue as to who they were talking about. I don't even know who they're about. So many of them are just drawn randomly that I don't want to know information. I've done a few that I know who you are because you just requested it and I did it. But the bulk of these, I don't have a clue who you are. I know nothing about you and I don't want to. I don't want to know if you're male or female. I don't want to know what trials and tribulations you've had in your life. I want the chart to speak for itself. I don't want my opinions or even yours, because a lot of times, and I understand your need to have somebody to understand. Well, you need to understand this about me. I felt the same way the first time I had a chart done. I felt like I needed to explain to this person who I was, or so that they could get me, or maybe they would see something that I wanted them to see to help me to understand myself. When the chart really, if you let it speak for itself, it can be so much more informational to you. These are your crosses. There are only 3. So look around you. That's me, myself, and I. We are here. When we come into this world, we're separated. That's why we always feel the need to bond with somebody else. If you have not watched the video letters to Joan, you need to do so. That way you can know about me. And understanding this knowledge that I have is going to help you to understand yourself. You need to know, first and foremost, know thyself. You need to pick up your cross and follow the Lamb wherever he goes. We are in that age. This is karma. This is right now where we're at is a time of letting go of the past. Letting go of those old ideologies. We have Saturn and Pluto in Sagittarius, and he's ripping away all that crap that don't serve us. We were in the church, now we've come out. Well, we're still carrying around baggage from the church. Time for it to go. We got some new stuff coming in, and we need to make room. Throw the old shit out. We're going to get new furniture, right? We're getting a new house. We're getting a new furniture. Let's don't take the baggage from the past into the future. And don't forget to bank your karma every single day, every chance you get. Karma backwards is a mark. So either you got good karma or you get a mark. And think about that one.